Transatlantic Sports Show. What a week one we had. We're looking ahead to week two with Brian O'Leary from the Irish NFL Show. Lots of talking points. Brian is a New York Giants fan, so we'll be getting his thoughts on Daniel Jones and the situation with his beloved Giants. So let's get to it, shall we? Here we are with Brian O'Leary on the Transatlantic Sports Show from the Irish NFL Show. Here to look back on an eventful week one and look ahead to week two of this 2024 NFL season. My good friend Brian O'Leary from the Irish NFL Show. Brian, I've been waiting ages to get you on the Transatlantic Sports Show, and here we are. Yeah, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Anthony. I know we've discussed numerous times when we were going to have this opportunity to reconvene and discuss the league, and obviously we've had a few podcasts over the course of the off season where you've been generous with your time and coming on the Irish NFL Show. So it's great to be here, great to return the favour, and it's great to have the season back. It was a very interesting week one, as it always is at the start of the season.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, and like you said, I always, when the season's about to kick off and we have training camp, I always think to myself, you know what? I want to enjoy summer. I love the long summer evenings, the warm weather, and as much as I love the NFL and always excited to have it back, I always think, no, that means it's the dark nights are drawing in. But then as soon as week one is here, bam, absolutely up for it, absolutely loving it. But as we were saying just before we came on air, it's still hitting us, those late nights. But we suddenly find our groove, don't we? We'll go. I mean, what a Thursday night football we've got lined up this week between the Bills and the Dolphins. But we suddenly find our groove, and then we're into the NFL swing of things of late nights, little sleep on a Sunday night, Tuesdays, kind of just adjusting to that jet lag. And then by Thursday, bam, it hits us again. We've got Friday and Saturday to recover then, but we're straight into the swing of things. But man, there's nothing like it, is there? Once the NFL's in full swing and we're going like we've just had with week one, there's nothing compares.
No, absolutely. I think we were spoiled last weekend because, you have the Brazil game on Friday night, which is something quite new to all of us. It's been, we had the Black Friday game last year, but we never had a late game, which you've had to stay up for. Usually you have that Friday night opportunity to recover from the opening night of the Thursday, but we had two fantastic games to kick off the season. Chiefs get it done. The Ravens look like they were dead and buried, find a way to come back, unfortunate with the likely touchdown at the end, and then you get the game on Friday night, the drama, the pitch conditions, the players looked a bit disgruntled as the NFL are being questioned over if it's the right team to go back to Brazil. You've got Saquon Barkley going off with 3 touchdowns. You've got the Love injury towards the end of the game. It looks like he's going to be out for a period of 3 to 6 weeks. You've got all that wrapped into 48 hours essentially before you even kick off on Sunday. It was quite a weekend. 2 great games to kick off, and then obviously followed by a fantastic Sunday evening.
Yeah, and you've got Friday night, Saturday morning to check your fantasy rosters and just see how your scores are doing. It was great, just keep it coming. That's all I say. But look, well, you mentioned there a former Giant, I'm afraid, Saquon Barkley. I mean, Brian O'Leary is a long-suffering Giants fan, though you have enjoyed success with the Giants. But the way that this season has started, Brian, I wanted to talk to you about your beloved Giants. Fans of the Transatlantic Sports Show will remember your voice in the moment of the NFL London games against the Packers a couple of years ago when the Giants pulled one off against, Green Bay, as we mentioned there. But watching your Giants on Sunday and Daniel Jones just stumble and stutter throughout the game, and you've got this incredible defensive line that you've put together, but you got a journeyman quarterback in Sam Darnold almost owning you, hanging. He's got you in his back pocket. And then before Sunday came, you're looking at Saquon Barkley, and he's scoring 3 touchdowns for your fierce rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles. How are you feeling, Brian, as a Giants fan? If you need to let your emotions out, here's the place. We're in this together.
Well, I'll start with Saquon. Obviously, Saquon Barkley scores 3 touchdowns in a great opening game for the Eagles. But did it come as a surprise to anyone? I mean, this is a player that's got into play for one of the teams who are a leading light in the NFL in terms of the expectations. Everyone expects them to be back challenging to win the NFC East again this year. Saquon is that kind of over-the-top player that was being brought in by the GM in free agency, and I suppose the scrutiny probably is more so because of the hard knocks sequence during the offseason, what we saw in July, August, which I thought was a fantastic coverage of the Giants. I'm biased as a Giants fan, but I think hopefully the NFL will revisit it again next year. We got to have some in-depth detail of the negotiations and the strategies that the Giants had around whether he would bring him back or not. And ultimately, maybe that's why some Giants fans are a bit disgruntled, because some of the comments that were made during the show. In terms of the Giants fans, partly, it's unfortunate he's gone to one of the biggest rivals. That just doesn't help the situation. I know the Texans and the Bears were in. I think if he had went to either of those teams, I don't think anybody would be overly concerned about how he's getting on. But obviously, opening game, 3 touchdowns, and then the double whammy is the Giants have a really bad outing on Sunday against the Vikings. And not many Giants fans saw that coming. I think we felt I think most fans get caught up in the camp, and you get caught up in the coverage that's shown in terms of how successful it looks in training camp. And then you listen to the coaches, and they talk about how prepared they are for a new season and what they expect in an offense. Brian Dable takes ownership of the play calling this year. It feels like he's made a decision. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down fighting, and I'll be the one ultimately that calls all the plays. I didn't think he put Daniel Jones in the best positions on Sunday with some of the play calling, but Daniel Jones on Sunday looked far removed from the quarterback, and which we even saw in London a couple of years ago when they pulled off that victory against the Packers. Obviously, he went to the playoffs that year. Difficult year last year. He was injured. He was back in. He gets the ACL. So I didn't think there was enough sample size last year for everybody to be so critical of him. But in saying that, what we saw on Sunday, he's regressed badly. I think the fortunate thing about the NFL is, Anthony, well, there is an overreaction Monday. The last 24 hours will be very difficult for most Giants fans in terms of the level of content coming out across the league. Is he done? Should he play again? Questions of Brian David yesterday whether he would be the starter on Sunday. I think it's too early to even get into that type of conversation. It was dismissed immediately. But if he doesn't play at a level on Sunday against a Commanders team, which I would call out, he has had a lot of success. He's 3-1 in Washington in his career as quarterback of the Giants. It seems to be a team that he's able to navigate victories against. But if he doesn't come out on Sunday and have a competent performance, even if they are to win it, say for example, it's the defense that got them home on Sunday with a victory against the Commanders team, the pressure only kind of moves on, and then they got the Browns the following week. And how long before Drew Lock inevitably gets his opportunity to step in and be a quarterback? It's difficult time for Giants fans right now.
Yeah, I spoke during the offseason with the former Giants wide receiver Brandon London, and I asked him how short a leash Daniel Jones has, and he predicted that it wasn't very short, and it could be 4 weeks at best, depending obviously how he gets on. And like you said, you've gone through the slate of games that are to come for the Giants, and I mean, if he doesn't step up and perform against the division rivals and the Commanders, a team that's in rebuild themselves, and serious questions are going to be asked. You mentioned their overreaction Monday, and you're looking at Instagram and on social media, there's various posts, and I saw this stat: Daniel Jones has thrown more pick sixes, 3, than touchdown passes, 2, since signing his $160 million deal. It doesn't bode well, does it, for Giants fans looking to the future. You and I were discussing about Munich, and that's at week 10, November 10th. And you just look ahead and you think, well, that's going to be the Panthers and Giants playing out in Germany. What kind of matchup is that going to be? What kind of contest is that going to be? You've got Danny Dimes potentially there. Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick with the Panthers, who's struggling himself, and the Panthers who are struggling. I put out on Instagram on Sunday evening as a little joke, but, start, bench, and cut out of Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, and Deshaun Watson. How would you go with that 3 if you had to start, bench, and cut one of those, or each of those?
I think the cutting situation there is interesting. It's actually a great question. I mean, these are the 3 quarterbacks over the course of the weekend. Yeah. You look at it and you say, they have the most scrutiny going into week 2. You've got the Browns going on the road to Jacksonville. You've got Panthers coming home against the Chargers. I think it's Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson did not show a lot on Sunday night in the game against the Cowboys. I would factor in Cowboys defense under Mike Zimmer. Seemed to transition very quickly and very well from Dan Quinn into the new defensive coordinator. Lights out, 6 sacks, struggling Browns offensive line. So you can have all the arguments and narratives that there is reasons why Deshaun Watson couldn't be successful in the pocket and in that game. But they didn't have a drive beyond 13 yards for the first 3 quarters of that game. That's telling. And I think Browns fans have been optimistic that we will finally see Deshaun Watson kind of take off and be the Deshaun Watson which led to the trade, whatever about the off-field stuff that's gone on over the course of the last 3 years. But they felt he would get back to what we saw when he was with the Texans. And right now, it hasn't come to pass. We haven't seen anything like like the standard in which has led to all the teams such as the Saints and the Falcons been in on him at the time in terms of trying to agree a trade. And which was also evident is some of the players are just not bought into him. There was,
Yeah.
if you look in social content over the course of the last 48 hours, there's been situations where he's trying to pick up players off him and they're just dismissing him. It just looks like a locker room that just, they're willing to play with him, but ultimately they would rather they'd have a preference for another quarterback. I think he's probably the worry of the most. I think Jameson Winston's there and he could come in and potentially do a job there. We saw what Joe Flacco did last year, which is probably the frustrating thing for Browns fans. We saw what Joe Flacco was able to do in the later years of his career with the Browns last year, which led to the playoff. And yet Deshaun wasn't counting to get that right. I would say that I think they're a little bit short offensively. Taking, obviously, Chubb's injury is a big factor. Not likely to come back for 4 to 5 weeks. Will he come back, Anthony, be the running back which we saw over the course of the last 4 years, bearing in mind the magnitude of the injury? I'm not entirely sure either. There's a lot going on in Cleveland right now.
Yeah, I think if you look at his injury history, and there's going to be huge question marks as to how much tread there is left on that tire, and I don't think that they can run him as much or as efficiently as they did in the past, because you just don't know. Those injuries stack up, and there's a reason why running backs have such a short shelf life on the market. And how far can they go with that, with Nick Chubb as their running back? I mean, and Jerome Ford, we saw, there's potential there, but they're going to have to manage the workload for Nick Chubb, and they're going to have to manage him back, just like the 49ers have had to manage Christian McCaffrey. He surprised many by not featuring on Monday Night Football, but then Jordan Mason steps up, and he had 28 carries in that game, the most carries of a running back under the Kyle Shanahan regime, 147 yards and a touchdown. He stepped up in prime time and was the key guy for the 49ers on that offense. Now, I drafted him in multiple fantasy football teams because of his potential. 49ers fans have been well aware of this undrafted free agent's potential from the 2022 draft. He came through with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, of course, was the last overall pick in that draft. So those two found their way through the ranks of the 49ers. We've all known about JP Mason, and then the spotlight came on and he carried that rock. I'm not too concerned right now about Christian McCaffrey. I think they're managing him well, and I think in terms of the 49ers, where they're at, and the Cleveland Browns, the 49ers know what they want. They're built for the business end of the season. They are built for knockout football in January. So they're managing Christian McCaffrey back, and they're looking at that run of games in December when they're on the road in Buffalo, back-to-back in Green Bay. So you've got those 2 inclement cold weather games. That's when you're going to need your Christian McCaffrey to carry the load. You look at their schedule coming up over the next few weeks. It's favorable. Of course, there's no easy match in the NFL, but you've got JP Mason who's cooking right now, and they can manage Christian McCaffrey back. But then that's the difference, isn't it, between a stellar roster and the also-rans, the teams that are building and are hopeful. But then the Browns have been so disjointed for decades. They had their first playoff win for God knows how long in what was the COVID year, wasn't it? The win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it's incredible, isn't it, how the way that the NFL is structured and the way that successful teams are built, they build their rosters in the right way. And the 49ers, this is leading to my question to you, as a fan of an NFC team, and you see the reigning NFC champions step up, and there were question marks around the 49ers franchise going into the season because of the Brandon Ayuk situation and the Trent Williams situation, and question marks over Christian McCaffrey. But then they come up against this elite, or supposedly elite, defense in the New York Jets and really put one on them. How do you see the 49ers in the NFC now at the start of the 2024 season?
Well, anybody who watches our content here in Ireland, the Irish NFL show, would have seen that I selected Purdy to be the MVP this season, and second of all, I ultimately gone for the 49ers to finally get over the line and win the Super Bowl. There's been so many missed opportunities, I think, over the last few years. I think me and you spoke about it numerous times. This team has been built so successfully to go win Super Bowls, and you had the unfortunate injury in the championship game a couple of years ago in Philadelphia. They react well. They come back to go to the Super Bowl. They should have won the Super Bowl, in my opinion. They didn't get it done. They're back again this year, and they look like a team. The manner of the performance last night taking McCaffrey out of the situation and how comprehensive they were both offensively and defensively. And it kind of lends to what you're saying there. Do they need to use McCaffrey week in, week after the season? Do they just need to nail him to the potentially to the road game where it's going to be a little bit more difficult? They're going to win to Minnesota this weekend. It's a tough game. They lost to Minnesota on a Monday night game last year. There's no giving victories in the NFL. But if they manage it right this year and manage the rotation correctly, and when you've got players like Mason who can come in, it's very easy when you can come in and, as you say, bringing a player who's kind of slightly under the radar, not necessarily with the fans or within the organization, but, as a fan group across the league. I don't think many people would have looked at him last night as him on the bingo card to score a touchdown. But obviously, he steps in, really successful game. Great start to the season. And I think the matter of the victory against the Jets team that do have high expectations this year. Like, they are up there in the stakes in terms of, the people that think the Bills are slightly regressed. The Dolphins are, where are the Dolphins this year? We're going to see the Dolphins have a great start to the season. Then when the cold weather comes and they go on the road, can't get it done. Jets, Aaron Rodgers coming back. I didn't think they would go in and win the game, but I didn't think it'd be the manner of the victory was really, really a credit to the Fortiners and where they are right now. And this is the luxury of what he touched on. They have built a panel of players that can play no matter what the circumstances, go and win the games, and ultimately come December, one seed. And if you're going through Santa Clara again, you're going to find it very difficult to beat the 49ers.
Yeah, I have to admit, when the 49ers went down early on, when the Jets scored the opening touchdown, it was Bryce Hall who scored that, and the 49ers had begun the game with a 3-and-out. You're suddenly thinking, oh, here we go, how's this going to pan out? But then after going 3-and-out, they scored on 8 consecutive drives. Okay, there were 6 field goals that were scored by Jake Moody, but the way that Shanahan just worked things, you're looking at Kyle Juszczyk coming out as a fullback, and we all know Juwan Jennings, and it's called 3rd and Juwan for a reason, and on those 3rd down plays, and Brock Purdy just looked composed, but the amount of time that he had as well, there was Purdy, who was the rookie at right guard. He just seemed to slot in perfectly he didn't allow any pressures on Brock Purdy, and Purdy seemed to have all the time in the world to make some of those plays. And with Nick Sorensen as the new defensive coordinator, things are looking up in San Francisco. But everybody knows I'm a big 49ers fan. But the way that Fred Warner and the linebackers were controlling the middle of the field on defense there as well was pretty spectacular. I mentioned there about Jake Moody scored 6 field goals. Chris Boswell, of course, scored 6 field goals as well this weekend. But we had the new kickoff rule implemented in week 1. What was your take on the new kickoff this week?
I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to. I was reading a very interesting stat in pre-season. I think the average return was hitting the 27.8 yard line, and it kind of drew me to think, if that's the case, well, then I think most head coaches will remove the risk of kicking off and being at the wrong end of a significant return, or even worst case scenario with touchdown, they'll kick it out of the end zone, allow the team to start to the 30. What are we talking about? 1.5 yards in terms of a game based on the average return during preseason? I acknowledge that preseason is very different to the season, but by and large, we didn't see a lot of significant returns, maybe with the exception of obviously DJ Dallas, the former Seattle Seahawk. He goes all the way in Buffalo and brings the Cardinals back into a game that seems to be getting away from them. But I think people are getting used to it. There's a little complexity around the rules. We saw even during the week, kicker kicks into a certain area. It's a penalty. It's moved to the 40. I just think fans are going to we're getting used to it now. But we're still waiting for these big blockbuster returns. Are we going to see them, Anthony? Because this was supposed to be the matter of the rule. Take away from the injuries, more exciting plays for fans. But right now, it hasn't transitioned, but there's still a lot of time to. I think defenses right now, in terms of special team, have got to work up on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, and you could tell, and rightly so as well. I think special team coordinators are just a little bit pessimistic about how bold they're going to be with their kickoff returns, and there's a lot of touchbacks, as you pointed out as well. However, there was a stat before Sunday night and Monday Night Football. There were already more kick return yards in week 1 than any other week last season. So I guess the NFL are going to lean towards that and say, look, there's more excitement on kickoffs. I mean, we were both in Las Vegas for that Super Bowl, and not one kickoff was returned. They were all touchbacks. So it's look, I think teams have got to find their way with it, and who knows? I mean, it could take a team just to be bold, have something up their sleeves. Maybe they're playing poker right now, aren't they? I think, and it could be Thursday Night Football. We never know. There could be something that somebody has up their sleeves that they don't want to reveal right now, and we'll see this amazing return. But yeah, I think, will it be one that's going to be reviewed come the end of the season? Only time will tell. But yeah,
I think it's one that they're reviewing, glove in hand in terms of the injury, the reduction of injuries compared to previous seasons, along with the return numbers and the stats. And what I would also point out is, I don't think every team is fully set on their special teams right now. I saw a number of teams the weekend, and they still had the people on the roster who were returning kicks from them last year, and they weren't necessarily on the field for special teams. They had other guys stepping in and doing it. So it's a bit of a tried and tested piece, even though like we always talk about the first few weeks of the season being kind of the secondary preseason where teams are getting used to what works and what doesn't. I think by the time we hit week 4, week 5, maybe in London we'll see one of those big kickoffs. But I think by the time we hit kind of that quarter stage of the season, I think this will start to kind of ease in, and we'll start to see more great plays.
It's like you're reading my mind, Brian. I was going to lead on to London before you go, and that'll be the next time that we hook up. It's just a few weeks away now, isn't it? 4 weeks. Week 5, we'll be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for we'll see Aaron Rodgers. We were talking about him. What do you think of Rodgers, by the way, with his return? I think he looked rusty in parts, but there were some good throws that he was making last night, and he seemed to have protection. Finally, they've invested the Jets in that offensive line. Okay, there's a bit of age along that offensive line, but still, I think there were times where he looked composed. He admitted himself he could have played better after the game, but it looked like the Jets and Jets fans can feel optimistic that they've finally got a quarterback that they can get behind and have some trust in. I think, ironically, it was the defense who was at fault last night in Monday Night Football. But promising times for the Jets, and hopefully Rodgers can step up now. He hasn't. Look, the last time he had 5 snaps of a football was January 2023. So it's a long time since he played that amount of competitive football, and he didn't play any preseason as well. So things could be looking up for Jets fans. Plenty for them to be optimistic.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't get overly concerned about the loss in Santa Clara. As we touched on there, they're going up against Ireland, one of the favourites for the Super Bowl. I thought gradually as the game went on, he improved, and I think his connection was evident with Garrett Wilson. He even acknowledged that it wasn't his best throw in the 4th down play, and he had to put it in the right spot. Wilson, when it came down with it, I think it's probably no surprise that the most, I suppose, confident he was in terms of where to go last night was to Lazard, who was a former colleague of his with the Packers, and that connection was there. And Lazard comes off the field with 2 touchdowns in the game last night. And he probably feeling comfortable in the sense of last year there wasn't a lot for him to get on in terms of the quarterback play with the Jets. And the Jets have got to win the next 2 games for me. They've got the Titans on Sunday, who obviously come off a difficult loss against the Bears. The first, I think, only the third team in NFL history, Anthony, who gave up a 17-point lead without giving away an offensive touchdown to the opposing team. So they're going to be under pressure in their opening home game. The Jets will feel they need to win this game. They've got the Patriots on the Thursday night. They really got to be 2-1. But it's going to be a mouth-watering game in London. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the Vikings are one of these sneaky teams that people aren't really talking about too much. They've obviously got to win. They've played 49ers the weekend. Unfortunate situation with the rookie McCarthy getting injured. But Sam Darnold looks like he stepped in. Kevin O'Connell's a fantastic head coach. We saw it last year when he had to change quarterbacks up. He just seems to have a way of navigating an offense, no matter who's back there on the center. So it makes for a great game, and that's what we've been very fortunate over the last few years. I think we've all kind of stepped away from Tottenham year in, year out and said we've had some really good games, and we've had some years where we've had some bad games. But I think the NFL have kind of structured it in a way now that they're really selecting good teams to come over, buying into what the NFL are trying to do in terms of building the brand, globally. And we've got 2 great games. Jags Bears the following week should be a great game in its own right. Caleb Williams coming over, and obviously we have the Jags experience again with Trevor Lawrence. It's mouth-watering, and it's something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, we're absolutely, we're blessed, aren't we? And we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past, but, just rewind, 20, 30 years ago. And, we would have been desperate for any NFL game in London. The fact that we get 3 back to back to back, and we have so many intriguing storylines as well with this, because you got Rodgers and his history in the NFC North, and the history between him and the Minnesota Vikings, and you look at the exciting roster that the Jets have put together, as you pointed out there, with the Vikings as well. And Sam Darnold's going to be an interesting narrative in himself. And then you get the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams against the former number 1 overall pick with Trevor Lawrence and the whole Jags thing. And then we get this new Patriots. I was going to say New England Patriots team, but there you go. I said it anyways. But this new look Patriots team, which were impressive against the Bengals on the weekend, and where they're going to be with Gerard Mayo, and will it be Drake May under center? Will it be Jacoby Brissett? How are they going to be stacked up by the time they come to London in week 7 when they head over? So intriguing times. And look, I look forward to hooking up with you and the guys from the Irish NFL show when you guys are over here as well. It's a great time of year. October is a beautiful time because we get so much NFL to enjoy. And then, of course, you get your Giants out in Munich as well, just a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, in a very interesting game, as Buddy touched on the dynamic of this game. Will your team want to win at that stage of the season? Maybe they'll be already looking ahead to potential draft position come the end of the season. They may both be in the sweepstakes for a new quarterback, who knows? But Mount Morton clashes, I guess, in particular the games in London, Tottenham and Wembley. And I look forward to catching up with you, Ramsey. You obviously do a great job with your content, and we'll catch up and have a good chat. And with them, we'll probably have established which teams will be the leading night in terms of come to the playoffs this year.
And there goes Brian O'Leary from the Irish NFL show. My thanks to him. And if you haven't checked them out, then please do. They do some great work covering the NFL. And there's a reason why the league have Dublin and Ireland as a potential market for future international games. It's because of the guys of the Irish NFL show and the work and the content that they provide in the coverage of the NFL over there on the Emerald Isle. So please check them out. Check out Brian as well. As you heard there, his insight and his knowledge of the game is fantastic, and you're going to get some great content and increase your knowledge of the sports. And hopefully you feel that you get that from the Transatlantic Sports Show as well. So give us a follow on social media at TASS_UK. We'll be at the London games, potentially the Munich game. We've been to the past couple of Super Bowls, so we provide you with what we think the best possible content around to share and enlighten you and share the NFL experience and educate you. And we learned some stuff on the way, and to help enlighten you with NFL and give you some insight into the league. In our next episode, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, a former running back, NFL running back who played for the Detroit Lions, DJ Dozier. He was a teammate of Barry Sanders with the Lions back in the day. We'll get his thoughts on the Lions season so far, and also just review and take stock of the NFL season to date, although we're only 1 week in. But by the time we chat to him, we'll be well into week 2. So if you want to get that insight from former NFL pros such as DJ Dozier, then please subscribe to the Transatlantic Sports Show on YouTube, and also find us on your favorite podcast provider. That's how you found us right now. So if you haven't subscribed, then please do it, and give us a 5-star review as well. Some of the viewing figures on our YouTube coverage have gone through the roof, and the subscriptions on the podcast. So if you want to join the party and become part of this NFL collective for the 2024 season, then please subscribe and follow us. I am Anthony Wootton. I am a published author of The Greatest American Football Story That Has Never Been Told. And if you are in the Henley-on-Thames area, September 29th, 6 p.m., I will be at the Town Hall as part of the Henley Literary Festival. So if you want to get a signed copy of my book, then please come down to the Henley Literary Festival. That's again the 29th of September, 6 p.m. at the Town Hall. Go to the Henley Literary Festival website. Look us up for that date. All the details are there, and you can book your tickets. You can meet me, say hi, say that you are a fan of the show, and you get a signed copy of the book as well. So hopefully see you there. If not, then I will see you virtually here, or you will hear me on the podcast, the Transatlantic Sports Show with DJ Dozier, the former running back for the Detroit Lions. Good luck to your team in week 2, unless they're playing the San Francisco 49ers, of course. Until next time.